Flames erupt across Groom Lake as a test aircraft slams into the lakebed, its wreckage swallowed by fire before any team can reach it. A U-2 rises toward the edge of space, only for Francis Gary Powers to be shot down, exposing a program the CIA swore the world would never know. Inside the desert base, explosions shake the A-12 program. Fuel leaks everywhere, temperatures so extreme aluminum melts instantly, and crashes labeled weather balloons. A D-21 drone malfunctions, tears free, and smashes into its own mothership, killing a crew member whose family receives only a vague explanation. Engineers burn documents in metal drums. Workers use fake names. Satellites are blocked. Maps erase the land completely. And in the dead of night, a strange, angular aircraft takes flight, its shape scattering radar into nothing as the base expands deeper into the desert. Crashes hidden, failures buried. Technologies decades ahead, born in silence. This is Area 51. Accidents, cover-ups, and the silent arms race. What if the world's most famous secret base wasn't built for aliens, but for a war no one wanted to admit was happening? What if the real story of Area 51 is stranger, not because it's supernatural, but because it was engineered in total silence? Who built this place? Why was it erased from maps? And why did the government hide its existence for more than 50 years? The wind dies. The desert holds its breath. A strip of concrete stretches across a dry lakebed, shimmering under brutal Nevada heat. The silence is unnatural, too controlled, too perfect. A single siren wails in the distance. Boots crunch on gravel. Something metallic groans inside a locked hangar. Before any soldier arrives, before any pilot climbs into a cockpit, before the world learns the name Area 51, there was only empty desert and a plan to change the future of global surveillance forever. In the early 1950s, the CIA faced a problem. The Soviet Union had sealed itself behind an iron curtain thicker than anything intelligence agencies had ever faced. Normal reconnaissance planes could no longer fly over Soviet territory, not without being shot down. Spies on the ground were captured. Every border was locked. The United States needed eyes in the sky. Eyes so high that no enemy weapon could touch them. But to build such a machine, they needed a place invisible to the world. A place far from reporters, tourists, or even other branches of the military. A place where secrets could grow in the desert. They chose Groom Lake, an ancient dried-out lakebed inside the Nevada Test and Training Range. Perfectly flat, perfectly isolated, a forgotten scar in the earth. The man tasked with creating the facility was Richard Bissell, the CIA official who later oversaw the Bay of Pigs invasion. Bissell, working with Lockheed's Skunk Works under the brilliant but notoriously demanding Kelly Johnson, needed a location so secret it wouldn't appear on any public document. President Eisenhower approved it personally. And just like that, without ceremony, without announcement, Area 51 was born. Its fenced borders and perimeter patrols came later. In the beginning, secrecy came from distance. You could drive for hours in every direction and still see nothing but desert. Pilots were flown in under false identities. Workers used aliases. Mail was intercepted. Phone calls were monitored. Families were told not to ask questions. The CIA took administrative control, but the Air Force handled security. Skunk Works built the aircraft. The Atomic Energy Commission provided the land. 3 organizations, 1 facility. Zero transparency. The first project was the U-2 spy plane, a thin, fragile-looking aircraft with wings like a glider and an engine built to push it to the edge of space. But before it became legendary, it had to survive something far worse: early testing. The pilots called Groom Lake the ranch. Days began before sunrise. Flights were launched in total darkness to avoid Soviet satellites. Engineers slept in temporary barracks. Dust storms tore through tents. Heat cooked equipment. Every flight risked disaster. When the U-2 finally achieved operational altitude, the CIA believed it was untouchable. That illusion ended in 1960, when Francis Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union. Suddenly, the world knew the United States had been flying reconnaissance missions deep inside enemy territory. And that failure lit the fire for Area 51's next creation, the A-12 Oxcart, a plane so fast that on paper it was impossible. Titanium skin, engines that inhaled air like a collapsing star, temperatures that melted aluminum instantly. At full speed, the A-12 outran its own shockwaves. Test flights were brutal. Pilots described the cockpit as an oven. Fuel leaks were constant. Runways had to be extended across the lake bed. Explosions were not rare. They were expected. But Groom Lake kept its silence. Accidents were labeled weather balloon crashes. Recovery teams arrived before sunrise, collecting debris before anyone could see it. Families of test pilots were told vague stories: training accidents, high-altitude failures, mechanical faults. No details, no explanations, only silence. The D-21 drone came next, an unmanned aircraft designed to fly faster than any pilot could survive. It launched from the back of a modified A-12. Tests went wrong. One drone malfunctioned and slammed into the mother aircraft, killing a crew member. But Area 51 pressed on, because the Cold War did not wait. Then came the project that changed warfare forever, the F-117 Nighthawk, the first true stealth aircraft, a plane that didn't look like it should fly, and in many ways almost didn't. Flat panels, odd angles, a shape built to scatter radar waves into meaningless fragments. At Groom Lake, technicians coated it with radar-absorbent material. They tested it against every radar the U.S. possessed. They flew it at night, sometimes with no lights at all. The base expanded. New hangars, new runways, new security protocols, radar ranges, underground bunkers, housing blocks, a world within a world. Each expansion came with deeper secrecy. Air Force personnel were told not to speak to CIA personnel unless necessary. Clearances were isolated into compartments. Information flowed like water through locked pipes, each man only aware of his drop. To the public, Area 51 did not exist. Roads leading toward it had no signage. Maps erased the land entirely. Aerial images were censored. When satellites eventually photographed it, the photos were classified instantly. Even pilots who flew nearby were warned. You didn't see anything. You don't talk about anything. The government hid the facility for one reason. The Cold War demanded silence. Every project tested here was a weapon of intelligence, an eye, a shadow, a ghost. If the Soviets learned what the U.S. was capable of, even by rumor, the advantage would disappear. So Area 51 became a myth by necessity. The secrecy itself created suspicion. Suspicion created stories. Stories became legends. And legends became the perfect camouflage. By the 1980s, expansions transformed the base again. More hangars rose from the desert. Radar cross-sections were tested underground. New prototypes arrived, some that would later emerge publicly, others that never would. Satellite tracking stations were added. New runways cut through the lakebed. Entire buildings were designed to swallow aircraft whole in seconds, making them vanish from above. Workers continued to arrive on unmarked planes, Janet flights from Las Vegas. Badges changed frequently. Some employees claimed they worked at another location. Others simply said they repaired office equipment for the government. No one asked for details. Test flights of the F-117 lit the night sky with shapes that made no aerodynamic sense. People in nearby towns reported triangles and black silent craft. Lights moved too slowly, then too fast. Objects hovered. The Air Force denied everything. The CIA said nothing. In truth, the government didn't hide Area 51 because of aliens. It hid Area 51 because the future of American surveillance, reconnaissance, and air superiority depended on a desert base that had to remain invisible. If the world discovered what flew from Groom Lake, the balance of power could shift overnight. Around the third minute, the rhythm of the story tightens, the moment where the viewer has already crossed the threshold into the world of secrecy and steel. And here, a whisper slips in naturally. Still watching? Then you're one of the few who follows the real history behind the shadows. Stick with us. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next secret. The years passed, and Area 51 became a fortress of innovation. The U-2, the A-12, the D-21, the F-117. Each revolution in American reconnaissance and stealth was born here. Each breakthrough changed how wars were fought. Each failure was buried beneath the sand. Even today, expansions continue. New hangars built for aircraft the public has never seen. Longer runways. Sensors embedded across the desert. Rumors of underground facilities. Satellite images show construction, but no one knows why. And that is the true power of Area 51. It is not what we know. It is what we are not allowed to know. The desert remains quiet. The lights burn through the night. A test aircraft rises from the runway, its shape unfamiliar, its purpose unknown. Somewhere inside, a radio crackles. You were never here. This never happened. And the sky swallows the machine whole. History will always remember the myth, but the truth, the real truth, is written in contrails that fade before dawn, and in the silence of a base that was never meant to exist.